For an example, down in Florida, there's someone I know down there. Florida's rule, and if I'm wrong, you guys can let me know. But you can, if you have the permits, you can have larger constrictors, but they have to be inside an enclosure, inside a second locked building. You have to have a building inside of a building just to make sure there's no escape.
Yeah.
Type deal. So it's restrictions like that, and people like.
Hey, Florida, it's too late.
Yeah, that's been a touchy one with USR.
500 exotic animals living in the Everglades right now.
And then.
Been there too long, you can't eradicate them.
No. And with stuff like the sulcata tortoise, as we talked about, that's an animal that lives 150 years. It's the third largest species of land tortoise in the world.
Yeah, and it's not even. Yeah, it's not even the size. I mean, per se, because that was brought up, and someone said, "Well, you can keep a horse." It's like, yeah, but you're not keeping a horse in a house. You're keeping it outside in a
for
field.
The next 150 years.
And you're keeping it outside in a field in a paddock. There's certain things, and even then, horses regulations say that you can't have it in a residential neighborhood or there's certain requirements. So there are laws and regulations on where and how to keep a horse.
Even cats and dogs.
Yeah, and so the sulcata is not going to survive. It's not a dangerous animal. It's just the fact that it lives long. Not even in getting big. It's not even the big thing. I mean, though it will need special care, and Maine is terrible for that type of animal because Africa is so different than Maine.
If you have a house big enough to provide the space.
And it's destructive. Yeah, you want, whatever, that's fine. But it's that 150-year thing that makes them go, wait a minute,
Well,
that's
like
5 generations. Your great-grandchild could, have this thing.
And it's like we were talking about earlier a little bit in the other video. A lot of people might say, well, I'll put it in my will. Well, there's no guarantee that your kid's going to be as into reptiles as you are.
Kid could be homeless or dead before you.
Yeah, or what's going to happen. There's so many variables there that the state looks at. And although the state might be a little backwards on some of their stuff, some of their stuff is there for a reason.
And being on that committee and subcommittee and being in this business, like I said, when I first started the hobby and stuff, I was all, I should be able to keep whatever I want. Now that I'm on the rescue, I'm going, there's good reasons why. There's certain animals that we just shouldn't have without some kind of check system in place.
Yeah.
It's not saying you shouldn't have it, but there's got to be something in place to make you realize, because if you're buying, too many animals are bought on a impulse and regret it later, and again, I end up with them, and they're sick, and they're deformed, and there are issues with them, and or they get big, or they live long, and people when you explain it to somebody on an impulse mentality, this little baby sulcata is this big, and it's so cute, and it's going to grow big and live 150 years. That's okay, I'll deal with it later. Because of that moment, that's all you're seeing is this cute little tortoise. Yeah. And they're not looking at this 200-pound beast that's going through sheetrock walls and ripping your toilets out.
I'm adding a new door here
today. Yeah, exactly.
Especially a lot of people that will try and maybe even keeping together. I've heard of situations like that where males of the species, the scoops under the neck in sulcatas are used for territorial...
For fighting.
And sometimes you can look at them and go, well, they're not sharp or anything. They can't cause damage.
Oh, yeah.
But they can cause damage. They get up under the shell and perforate the skin. There's a big vet bill. There's so many different things that add up. And a good example, veering a little bit off the sulcata, is like we were talking about with the tarantulas that you got in. How Maine used to not have any tarantulas on their unrestricted list. Now we've got the 3.
We got the 3 at the trial. We've got the Chilean rose hair, the Brazilian black, and the Chaco golden. We have the 3 legal species you don't need permits for. You can own them, you can buy them, you can have 100 of them.
Yeah.
As long as those 3 species.
And we've got, so people are like, okay, we've got those 3 on the unrestricted list now, let's add these. And being on the rescue side, you can understand the states, hold on, let's test run these 3. Make sure they're not being released all over the place.
It's not saying no. Some people are all bent out of shape. They should have let more. And the thing is, they were given a list of 12. I think it was like 10 or 12, and they chose 3 to see. So those other whatever, 7 to, whatever, those are still potentials. And honestly, vinegaroons and scorpions, those will probably be, the emperor scorpions or the Asian forest scorpions, those will probably be on there soon too. Once we kind of just get through that trial thing, and but some people are just so impatient again. I want, and I found with the state that doesn't work. With the state, you need to sit there and not only say I want, but how do I be responsible with it? And they want to see that. They want to see responsibility. They'd like to see more education, but yet they don't do enough to educate. They kind of just want people like me to do it. And it's like, that's fine, but it still needs to be done by the state. There's only so much I can do.
Oh, with that education piece, still on the same topic, the earlier video we did, we were talking about when you come into the state, you see signs saying not to bring firewood into the state.
Yeah.
You can't bring it, you can't. There are some of these things, we live in Maine, we don't even have to know them because we're not going to be bringing wood from Florida into Maine.
Yeah.
But we know them because it's on signs at every campground. It's on every pamphlet at every campground.
You're told that.
You know you have to take.
I've seen it on TV, radio,
You have to
magazine.
take plants off of your boat trailers because you might get milfoil traveling to another. We all know these things without necessarily having to go search for that information. But if you look at the exotic side.
But that's the thing. See, the state made an education campaign based on those things. The boat one's a prime example. I don't motorboat. I don't have a trailer. I don't have a boat. Well, I know because I've seen it at boat launches, and it's everywhere. I mean, you get a fishing manual. It's in there. It's on TV. It's on a sign coming to the States. In magazines. It's on social media. There's a campaign the state put out there. They spent money on it. They're not doing that with the educational reptiles or exotics. I shouldn't say just reptiles. Exotics. And so people don't know, and then people end up getting these animals unknowingly, whether it's from out of state because they came from another state or they ordered it online or whatever. And the state holds you responsible. And they actually have an after the fact fee. So say you have an animal, and you find out you got it, you've had it, and all of a sudden somebody goes, "Oh, that's illegal. You need permits." You can say, "Oh my goodness, I want to do the right thing. I want to get a permit for it." Okay. I didn't know it was illegal. I want to get a permit. I want to make sure I'm covered. And the state will give you the permit, but you got to pay $500 first to get that permit, plus the permit fees and stuff. And so they call it an after the fact fee, and it's like, I call that extortion.
Yeah.
Especially if the person honestly did not know what they were doing was wrong or illegal. It's not their fault when nobody tells them.
Yeah.
The state will say, well, it's on our website. And again, it's like, well, yeah, but...
You gotta figure out how to get there if you don't know how.
Yeah, if you don't know how I'm navigating it, and even some of the biologists will tell you, I don't know where it is on there either. And the verbiage on it. And there's so many things that it's like, it's not an easy thing. And that's where the state needs to step up. And that's where the state needs to, put that same sign right next to the firewood and the checking your trailers coming into Maine. Hey, you're moving to Maine with your pet. Make sure check this website right here to find if your animal's legal in Maine or not and what to do. Yeah. That's what they need to do, and they're avoiding that. And I don't know why they're avoiding that because they all agree with me, but they all avoid doing it. It's not a priority, and it's like I know it's not like millions of people that come into the state of Maine camping and with boats and trailers because we're the vacation state. It's not the same with the animals, but nonetheless, it's still an issue.
It's still a problem. It's not to say it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It may not be as often, but it's still a viable option of what's happening right now.
Yeah, and education, no matter what it is important. No price is too
high.
Too high.
Education
for proper education.
Yeah. Well, thank you to Mr. Drew. I think we'll probably cut it there. I've been here for about 5 hours for these two videos.
An hour and a half on this one, says.
Hour and a half on this one. The other one was 50 minutes.
You might want to edit a little bit.
I think I might edit a little bit. Those parts where I paused. Like always, like I said earlier and a couple times through the video, I'll throw his address up so you guys can send him some happy mail or come by your feeders or whatever. Or just
you get a question. I mean, it could be anything. You don't have to send me any actually handwritten mail. And if you just got a question about your pet,
I'll link his
Yeah.
Facebook up as well.
look me up and we'll try it out, and I'll answer your questions and
He's more than happy
send
to
you in
help.
the direction you need to go if you need help with something. Either way.
As always, you guys know me. Find me on Facebook. You guys know if you're watching this where to find me. If you have a question for me, be happy to ask. I don't care if you want to buy an animal or anything. I'm like Drew. I'm happy to answer any questions I can, and if I can't, I'll find out the answer for you. Thanks for taking the time to watch this. And like I said, everything will be linked so you guys can find Drew and maybe get some feeders like I'm about to get from him.
And remember, Maine woods, Maine waters, Maine animals. It's that simple.